Awesome. I apologize to everyone tonight. I wasn't able to attend. I came down with a pretty nasty case of COVID. I thought it was best to attend remotely. I talked to our legal counsel whether or not I could share the meeting remotely. Technically, I can, but I didn't think it was the best idea, the most respectful way, and the most facilitative way to conduct the hearing or the meeting. So Caroline will give the budget presentation, and I'm going to be appointing Jim Pittman as the chair of tonight's meeting, and I'll be attending and participating remotely and voting and everything. I have all my meeting stuff that I've reviewed. But again, I just want to apologize. It's a shame I don't get to see the student presentation tonight. But, things happen. We can't control disease. That's something out of our hands. But I just appreciate others stepping up, and I appreciate everyone who came out tonight. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is 6:01, and I'm going to name Jim Pittman as the chair. And Jim Pittman, the floor is yours. You are chairing the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Brody. I invite everyone to join me with the pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, and I welcome everyone here this evening. Won't really repeat what Brody says, but I'll also note that our vice chair, Dr. Manning, is unable to attend this evening as well, which prompted Brody to reach out and see if I would perform the function of being on-site facilitator for the meeting. Brody is in attendance remotely, but for purposes of convenience, I'll try to run the meeting. We're starting out this evening with a public hearing regarding the budget, as you can see on the big screen behind me. And I'm going to ask Superintendent Eric Killian to run this presentation. Normally, Brody, as chair and also the lead of the Finance Committee, would perform this task, but in the most efficient way, I believe our superintendent is the person to do this, so I will yield to you to do our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's my honor to give this presentation tonight. My name is Caroline Arikelian, Superintendent for Governor Wentworth Regional School District, and this is the school board budget adoption hearing. The budget preparation process is a comprehensive effort that begins in October, involving collaboration across all levels of the district. Staff members in each school share their budgetary needs with their school principals, who then submit these requests to the SAU office. The superintendent and business administrator meet with each school leader to carefully review and discuss these submissions. During these discussions, building administrators provide context for any significant increases, explaining special circumstances, or offering rationale where needed. As part of this process, the superintendent and business administrator may ask building administrators to adjust their requests, ensuring that increases are managed while maintaining the district's priorities. Personnel requests are also addressed during this time, with proposals for new positions evaluated based on the strength of the rationale provided. Depending on the justification, some requests may proceed to the Finance Committee for further consideration. This year's budget discussions include a mix of additions and reductions to positions reflecting the district's evolving needs. Public meetings to review the fiscal year 2026 budget were held on November 12th, 13th, and 14th, offering valuable opportunities for input and discussion. Following these sessions, additional reductions were made to further refine the budget. The board held the preliminary budget presentation in December at New Durham School, and the deliberative session on February 1st will take place here at the Kingswood Arts Center at 10 a.m. The district's enrollment data for the current year highlights a mix of growth and decline across schools, painting a nuanced picture of student population trends. Effingham saw the most significant growth, with enrollment increasing from 108 to 120 students. This notable rise demonstrates the potential for growth in certain areas of the district. Crescent Lake also experienced an increase, with student numbers rising from 174 to 181, indicating stable or growing interest in the school. Similarly, Tuftonboro showed a slight but steady increase, moving from 95 to 99 students, reflecting consistent enrollment. On the other hand, several schools faced declines in student numbers. Ossipee experienced the largest drop, with enrollment decreasing from 294 to 275, representing a significant shift. New Durham also saw a notable decline, falling from 158 to 144 students, which may reflect demographic changes or other local factors. KRMS, the middle school, showed a decline from 362 to 345 students, possibly due to shifts in the populations feeding into the school. At the high school, KRHS and LRTC, our tech center, enrollment dropped slightly from 733 to 729, reflecting stability but with a slight downward trend. Overall, the district's total enrollment declined from 2,116 to 2,076, a year-over-year loss of 40 students. While certain schools have shown promising growth, the overall trend points to a gradual decline in district-wide enrollment. The data underscores the importance of understanding local demographic changes and addressing the factors influencing these shifts to ensure long-term stability and growth across all schools. On this slide and the following slide, the decreases reflected in these lines result from a thorough review by administrators to identify and implement reductions where feasible. Particular attention was given to building maintenance and capital improvement items, which were scaled back to help offset the costs of repairs and maintenance scheduled for completion during the current school year. The professional services line highlights the contractual agreement supporting students who attend Lakeside Academy, one of the district's alternative programs, along with mandated special education services. These adjustments demonstrate our ongoing efforts to balance fiscal responsibility with the need to meet both educational and operational priorities. This slide is a continuation of the general fund. We have handouts with the general fund as well as the default budget in the lobby. Employees represent the vast majority of the budget in education, as they are the foundation of everything we do. Our workforce includes dedicated classroom teachers, paraprofessionals, special educators, school counselors, nurses, administrators, custodians, food service staff, and transportation teams. Each plays a critical role in creating a safe, supportive, and effective learning environment for our students. These individuals are not just employees, they're the heart of our schools. Without their commitment, expertise, and hard work, we simply couldn't operate. They are the ones who inspire learning, build relationships, and support our students' academic and emotional growth every day. Investing in our employees is not just about salaries, it's also about providing professional development, supporting their well-being, and ensuring they have the resources they need to succeed in their roles. Our workforce is the key to delivering high-quality education and maintaining the excellence our community expects and deserves. This slide shows proposed new staff, but also reduction in staff. And I'll go through each position with the rationale. So the first proposed position is a maintenance technician. The rationale for this district-wide position: our maintenance team is currently stretched thin, making this position critical to ensure timely and effective upkeep across the district. The student wellness coordinator, also a district-level position. This role is essential as we phase out the nurse contract with Huggins Hospital. The coordinator will address mental health needs across the district, aligning with our strategic plan and ensuring continuity of care for students. The special education administrative assistant currently is a position at the middle school. However, the middle school currently relies on a substitute for this part-time role. Expanding to a full-time assistant ensures sustainability, and stability for special education, diagnostic prescriptive teacher, our special education coordinator with a very large caseload. The Student Support Center staff member at the high school would be a new trained staff member who will support students transitioning from suspension or hospitalization back into school. This initiative is designed to reduce out-of-school suspensions and provide structured, effective reintegration for students. CTE support staff member. This support staff position would be housed at LRTC, our technology center. This position addresses safety requirements in the technical schools shops where additional oversight is critical to maintain a secure and safe learning environment. We have a reduction of one teacher at New Durham. As enrollment shifts, the school is reducing a teaching position, but requesting a reading-focused paraeducator to provide targeted literacy support. Increased DPT support. DPT, as previously mentioned, is diagnostic prescriptive teacher, also could be known as a special education facilitator or case manager. Both schools, Tuftonboro and Effingham, require expanded roles to ensure full-time support for special education case management. This aligns with the administrative negotiation to relieve principals from acting as case managers. We also have a reduction at Crescent Lake School. With student enrollment declining as the grade, quote, bubble moves on to the middle school, this reduction aligns staffing with current needs. And finally, for the preschool, an additional special education case manager. The current preschool case manager is overextended across the district. Adding this position ensures compliance with legally mandated services and better support for students and families. Understanding our revenue sources is fundamental to planning and sustaining the operations of our district. New Hampshire schools rely on a diverse mix of funding from state aid, federal contributions, and local revenue, each playing a vital role in meeting the educational needs of our students. State aid provides a significant portion of our funding. At its core is adequacy aid, the primary source of state funding, designed to ensure a baseline level of financial support per student to cover essential education services. Building aid is another critical state resource, helping districts manage the costs of school construction and renovation projects. This funding is particularly important for upgrading facilities while reducing the tax burden on local communities. Additionally, vocational aid supports career and technical education programs, which are vital for hands-on learning opportunities, such as those offered at the Lakes Region Technology Center. To address the needs of students requiring specialized support, special education aid provides funding for high-cost services, ensuring equity and access to resources. And lastly, child nutrition aid supplements our school meal programs, promoting health and well-being for students who may face food insecurity. Federal funding also plays a role, with Medicaid being an important source of reimbursement for health-related services provided to students, especially those in special education. This funding helps the district offset costs for mandated services, ensuring compliance while maintaining financial stability. Local revenue complements these state and federal contributions. It is truly the lion's share of contributions to school funding. School lunch sales provide direct support to our child nutrition programs, while tuition from out-of-district residents adds another layer of funding as families from outside the district enroll their children in our schools. This diversified revenue mix is essential for sustaining programs, maintaining facilities, and meeting the needs of our students. The balance between state, federal, and local contributions allows the district to operate effectively while ensuring financial stability. Monitoring and managing these sources carefully will remain a priority to secure the long-term success of our schools. The official ballot law, commonly referred to as SB 2, defines what must be included in a default budget. A default budget reflects the prior year's approved operating budget, adjusted for any legally required changes or operations, such as debt payments or contractual agreements. It does not include one-time expenses from the previous year. The purpose of presenting a default budget is to provide voters with a clear picture of what the district's budget would look like if the proposed operating budget is not approved. It's important to note that the default budget is only slightly different from the proposed operating budget, reflecting many costs that are outside the district's control. This year, the default budget is $852,889 lower than the proposed operating budget. However, it represents a 5.25% increase over last year's budget due to these unavoidable costs. Including this in this percentage in the presentation helps illustrate the minimal difference between the two budgets and underscores the challenges we face in managing rising expenses while maintaining quality services for students. By highlighting these realities, we can stress to taxpayers that the district is working to balance fiscal responsibility with the need to address essential costs. Over the past several years, the district has successfully retired bonds for the Ossipee, Effingham, and New Durham school projects. This achievement reflects our commitment to responsible fiscal management and reducing long-term debt obligations. The principal, or the remaining debt from the Kingswood Complex project, continues to decrease each year as we make scheduled payments. However, it is important to note that as the principal decreases, the amount of state building aid we receive also diminishes. State building aid is calculated based on the outstanding principal. So as that amount lowers, the aid provided by the state is proportionally reduced. This reduction in state aid means that while we are steadily paying off our debt, the portion of the payment covered by local funding increases. Additionally, because interest is calculated on the remaining principal balance, our total interest cost has naturally decreased alongside the reduction in principal. This trend will continue until the debt is fully paid off, at which point the district will no longer carry the financial obligation for this bond. By managing these financial changes thoughtfully, we're ensuring the long-term financial health of the district while maintaining our commitment to meeting the needs of our students and community. This fall, the district engaged in negotiations for 2 essential collective bargaining agreements, both of which will appear as warrant articles on the upcoming ballot. These agreements with the Governor Wentworth Administrative Team and the Governor Wentworth Support Staff Association are critical to ensuring that we retain and support the dedicated individuals who uphold the excellence of our schools. The administrative team agreement, known as the GWAT agreement, has been fully approved by both the board and the association. This 4-year agreement includes a 4% salary increase each year, reflecting our commitment to the leadership and the board's commitment to the leadership and strategic oversight provided by these professionals. Their work is fundamental to the success of our schools, and this agreement ensures that we can continue to attract and retain talented administrators. Negotiations for the support staff agreement, also known as GWSA, came to an agreement late this fall. This group includes food service workers, paraprofessionals, custodians, secretaries, and bus drivers who are essential to the daily operations of our schools and the creation of a supportive learning environment for all students. The district remains committed to achieving a fair and balanced agreement that acknowledges their invaluable contributions while remaining mindful of fiscal responsibility. Both agreements are vital to maintaining the strength and effectiveness of our district staff. These negotiations are a critical investment in the people who make our schools successful every day. These are the warrant articles that the board will consider later in the meeting. Building and maintenance warrant article. Each year, the board proposes a building and maintenance warrant article to address capital improvements across the district. Historically, the amount has ranged between $150,000 and $200,000. When the amount is set at $150,000, we often encounter projects that remain incomplete, excuse me, and need to be deferred to the following year. This year's warrant article is designed to address several important infrastructure needs, ensuring our facilities remain safe and functional for students and staff. The turf field capital reserve warrant article. For several years, the district has presented a turf field capital reserve warrant article. This reserve was established to avoid incurring the entire expense of replacing the turf in a single year. The life expectancy of a turf field is 10 to 12 years, with an estimated replacement cost of $775,000. Thanks to meticulous care and maintenance, we've extended the life of our turf field to 15 years. Currently, there's approximately $800,000 in the reserve. With continued support, we should have sufficient funds for replacement in 2025, and you'll hear more about that later on in the meeting. Support staff collective bargaining agreement. This year, as mentioned, the district successfully reached an agreement with the support staff, resulting in a collective bargaining agreement that totals $645.53 increase for next fiscal year. This agreement reflects our commitment to supporting the individuals who play an essential role in maintaining our schools, providing critical services to students, and ensuring the smooth operation of daily activities. The administrative team collective bargaining agreement has also been finalized, with a total of $171,398 increase for next fiscal year. This agreement underscores the value we place on the leadership and expertise of our administrative team, who guide our district in achieving its mission of educational excellence. Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund warrant article. The final warrant article is a request for $150,000 to be added to the Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund. This fund, established in 1990, is specifically designated for large maintenance projects. Unlike the operating budget, the funds in this account carry over from year to year if not used. As our district's facilities age, necessary maintenance projects are becoming increasingly costly. This fund serves as a long-term planning tool, much like the turf field capital reserve, to prevent large expenses from overwhelming the annual operating budget. Proactively planning for these expenses helps ensure the longevity of our facilities while minimizing financial strain on the district. Later in tonight's meeting, the board will vote on these warrant articles. Additionally, there's an agenda item to discuss meals eligibility, which may result in an additional article being added to the warrant. Here you'll see important dates to remember. The first date is tonight, January 6th, final adoption hearing. Tuesday, January 14th, last day for collective bargaining. Also last date for petitioned warrant articles. Last date to post notice of bond hearing. January 27th, last date to post warrant budget and the default budget. And January 22nd through 31st, filing dates for school district officers. And these are culminating in deliberative session here on February 1st at 10 a.m. in the Art Center. Thank you very much for your attention. I will turn it back over to the board for any questions.
Thank you for that detailed presentation, Dr. Arkelian. Don't run away too far, but I'm going to open this up for questions. I'd like to do in the following order, as I would like to give our board members first crack at asking any questions they have. I know they've had a lot of time to see the preliminary numbers leading up to this budget. There may be some questions outstanding or comments. Once our board members have the opportunity, I'll open it up to the public to also weigh in. So at this time, any board members wish to say anything, ask questions? Darlene, I see your motion. I think the man in the booth will empower you.
It's on now? Yes,
There you
okay.
go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair tonight. I did have a question about one of the proposed new staff members, the student wellness coordinator. Will this position be part of the administrative team? Is my first question. And As the rationale, if I understood correctly, we're phasing out our contracted nurses, and I'm wondering, will the student wellness coordinator have any kind of, certification? Will they be a registered nurse? I would guess that would be the minimum if they're going to be taking over duties of our school nurses.
Would you like to respond to that?
I'm happy to. Thank you. The Student Wellness Coordinator was proposed as part of the wellness focus area of the strategic plan. And the student wellness focus area does address nutrition and health, nursing, mental health, physical health, and it is one of the responsibilities for the wellness coordinator to oversee nursing so they can have aligned practices across the district. We did not envision the student wellness coordinator to also be a registered nurse, but someone who can facilitate the nurses' work and keep them aligned. It is common for an assistant superintendent of student services or a director of special education and counseling to oversee many positions, including nurses, occupational therapists, school psychologists, those counselors who are dealing with different areas of health but not necessarily certified in that area. So that is anticipated part of that job description. And I think your other question was about the team. So they won't be an administrator part of the team. They won't be part of that collective bargaining agreement.
Thank you for that. What will they be part of any collective bargaining agreement?
No.
All right, thank you. And if I could just ask quickly, did this position also come to some degree out of the strategic planning process?
That's right.
Okay. Would you like to repeat your answers for Tom?
Sure. So the last question, I believe, was, will the student wellness coordinator be part of any collective bargaining agreement? And the answer is no, they will not be. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, Mary?
Thank you. My question is about the replacement vehicle. With us. My question, thank you, apologize for that. Replacement vehicles, that's the aging and wearing out of the a bus, one bus, two buses.
Kathy.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, yes, Mary, each year the district leases 3 new buses, full-size yellow buses. And right now, they keep that on a cycle. So the leases are 3-year leases. And once the lease is up, we buy them out per the contract. So everything listed in replacement vehicles has to do with transportation. And it's either buying out of 3 buses coming off of a lease, or continuing with 2 other leases and then adding another 3 for leases. So we're constantly rotating on a 3-year cycle.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tom, do you have a question? Microphone, please.
Can you hear me now? On the page under collective bargaining agreements, there's Governor Wentworth Support Staff Association, and it says 2 years, and then it says 10% to 5% increase. Was that meant to mean 10% plus 5%?
I can address that if you need, Caroline.
Sure, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, I can make sure I'm set up correctly so people can hear me.
They can hear you.
I think so. Heads are
Perfect.
nodding.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone's cooperation. Tom, so you asked about 10% the first year and 5% the second year. So in the first year, it would be a 10% increase in the total amount of wages that they're currently being paid. They've decided how they want to place that on their own wage scale that they've created. People towards the bottom end will see a little bit more of an increase than people towards the top end to try to bring the bottom up. We need to be more competitive in our current wage market. We're currently paying some of our starting WISA staff members well below what is acceptable in the market just in our area. It's become tough to compete against fast food restaurants. So we recognize in year one, we need to make a bit of a enhancement, and that's something that's happened across the state with many school districts. And it's something that has also happened in school districts about our size, and they've actually done much larger enhancements the first year, but we wanted to be a little bit more fiscally responsible and didn't want sticker shock. After that 10% in the first year, it would be a 5% on top of that existing rate. So yes, you can see the dollar amounts are, I believe they're in the presentation that will explain. So the total amount, when you think about tax impact and how much we spend our wages, believe it or not, that 10% is actually much smaller than even like a 3% for the regular teachers union contract for those that are professional staff. So to kind of explain the rationale, we're trying to make our district more competitive for hiring. 10% first year will get us more on par with what other school districts and other similar sectors are paying people of these skills. And then 5% it's the kind of like a COLA adjustment. And our support staff, they were making, I think getting about 4% increase each year during COVID, which is way behind what inflation was at about 9% when it peaked. So they've really fallen behind and they can feel it. So I hope that clarifies, Tom.
Would you repeat what it was during COVID?
I believe it was a 3-year contract. If I'm not mistaken, it was a 5-4-4.
5.44?
5% the first year, 4% the second year, 4% the year after that. And the contract before that, I believe, was even less than that. But I don't have those numbers off the top of my head.
Okay. And that's based on wage surveys in the area?
Yes, I can hear you incorrect. We did look at other school districts. We looked at similar, like, private sector. And, you know, we did it with and we, remember, when we negotiate, you know, we start at two very different ends and we work our way, for the most part, towards the middle, sometimes towards one way and sometimes for right, but for the most part, towards the middle. So for everyone's context, taxpayer, residents, and the rest of the board, we're at very different positions to start. And I feel as if we did the best that we could for the taxpayers and treat our union as justly as we could with the current, excuse me, with the current agreement.
Okay, thank you, Brody. We certainly need more support staff to help out with IEPs and so forth. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Darlene, do you have another question?
Couple questions. I apologize if I missed this explanation at the December preliminary budget meeting in New Durham. Could you help me understand why our contracted transportation line 519 has increased 76.08%? That's my first question. And my second question is just for clarification that the 6.6% increase in our proposed budget this year does not include any of the warrant articles.
So the first question, contracted transportation, is for out-of-district students, so students who are placed out of district for special education needs. to a smaller extent, homeless students who are still attending our schools. So that would be contracted transportation. And then, what was the second question? Oh, regarding warrant articles. So no, this increase does not include any warrant articles. The warrant articles are always separate. This is only the general fund.
Okay, Dr. Shuckler. You need a PhD to operate that microphone.
Clearly,
Oh,
maybe
you're
two.
fortunate.
Okay. I just had a couple of questions on the revenue slide. Kathy, I'm excited to see this because this is new information. There's some variance in expectations from our actuals in 24 and then sort of projected budgets. So I wondered if you could help me understand what happened in investment and interest, and then also what's driving the budget estimate around like summer school and some of those that don't seem to have been living up to the plan last time.
Sure, so I can answer you on the investment. Simple as can be, the district switched banks.
Ah, that was good. Good job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Always looking to find a better deal wherever we can find it, so we switch banks. The second question you said was summer school.
Yeah, why is there a variance?
It varies every year. Some years it's up, some years it's down. So I try to find a medium without, I'm always very conservative when it comes to non-known revenues. So that's just depending on students. The regular students going for for summer school, there's a small tuition amount.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from our board members? Don't be shy. Okay, well, seeing none, I will invite folks here in the hall, if they want to come up to the microphone, ask several things. One, state your name, state what town you're from, and let's try to be brief and try to be professional, might be a good word.
Good evening. My name is Rhonda Martin, and I'm from Wolfeboro. I have a quick question regarding the Student Wellness Coordinator position. Is this a mandated position that needs to be filled by the strategic plan? And what is the criteria, job description for this particular position?
Yes, please.
So mandated only in a way that the school board approved the strategic plan last March. So they voted to approve the plan. And so with that, as a district, we now take it as our responsibility to fulfill the plan. So under the focus area, the student wellness focus area, I believe it's the first item that says that we will do a wellness audit. We will look at the needs across the district, mental health, physical health, nutrition, and look at the data to see where we need to improve. The next item is that we will hire a student wellness coordinator. So it's not mandated by law per se, but as the district, we have to follow the school board's actions. And as it's part of the strategic plan, that's what we intend to do. And then as far as the job description, it's following that focus area. So they will be leading and coaching the school nurses. Our contract with Huggins Hospital ends at the end of next year. So we have to have all district employees, all nurses who are district employees. So we would like a leader someone who the nurses look to, someone who leads the nurses and gets them together. This person will also be involved with nutrition and meals. So they'll support our efforts to increase students' access to meal eligibility, different grant opportunities for meals and for possibly transportation to deliver meals is one idea that was floated. They'll be involved with counseling and mental health efforts. Another part of that focus area is about student assistance with respect to drug and alcohol counseling. So that's something due to the needs that we have that are identified through the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. We have needs in that area. So unfortunately, we have students who need some support. They need a lot of support, actually, with respect to mental health, substance use, some other risky behavior. So there's plenty of work for the student wellness coordinator to do. In fact, we're trying to find a way to not make it too long, this job description.
What you've just explained to me is a lot. This is a lot of responsibility on what you're saying is one person. And you answered Charlene saying that it was not a professional RN position. What is the criteria for hire?
We would like this person to have at least a master's degree in either counseling or special education, or could be nutrition, could be social work, or in a related field. We don't want to limit it because there are many specializations in wellness, frankly. So it could be someone who comes in who has a background in social work. That would definitely be applicable. Or it could be someone with a background in counseling, definitely be applicable. It could be someone who was a school counselor, or someone who was a counselor in the private sector.
So this is a very fluid criteria for the position.
The master's degree specifically it needs to be in a related field. But as far as the criteria for the education, they must have a master's degree. As far as the field, we would consider several different fields.
But what you explained to me as far as like someone coordinating these efforts for nutrition, but then you're also talking about a mental illness, mental wellness type clinic. I mean, you're all over the place in this criteria of the super person you're going to look for to hire into this position. And without anything, do you have something written
We have
formally?
a job, sure.
Yeah.
Yep, we have a job description. I'm happy to share that with the community if that's of interest.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, what are we looking for, and what are we looking for this person to deliver? What you just explained is a lot.
It is a lot. It's absolutely a lot. I'll share that at my last district, my position was, prior to superintendent, it was assistant superintendent for student services. And my job description was pretty long, and it included overseeing nursing and counselors, special education, homeless, English as a second language, social workers. So, and make no mistake, I am not certified all of those things. My background is in special education. However, when you put student services all together, people work together, and they also deserve a leader. They deserve someone at the district level who can help create systems of supports across the district so they can all work together. But it takes a leader, a coordinator, who can honor the expertise of each of these groups while also encouraging them to, use their expertise to make things better for kids.
And what is the set salary, annual salary for this position?
I don't think we've set that.
that's kind of important to taxpayers to know,
Sure.
you know,
I think we've
or
taken
not
a-
only that, but whoever is applying would.
We take an average of when we have this is a brand-new position, has never existed. So we've budgeted an average of what a teacher's salary would be.
Well, when you say teacher salary, I mean, is that with tenure? Is that with a beginner's teacher salary? Do you see what I'm saying? I mean,
Sure.
we
We
kind
can
of like to have
explain it
some
to you.
idea how much this position is going to be.
It's actually in the presentation.
Yes, it is. It's
Yeah.
about $78,000. But what I did was, I've taken the current teacher list that we have now, projected it for next year and what their salaries are going to be, because they're part of a union, so I know what those salaries are going to be. And I take the average. So I take the median dollar amount for our actual teachers for next year. That's what I use for the budget number.
Other school districts that have filled this particular position, have you had in-depth conversations with those school districts or the person that's actually doing this position so that you know? And what school district have you talked to?
I'm going to ask that this be your last question relative
Okay.
to this. If you have further questions, you can follow up with the superintendent. We like to give other people a chance to speak as well. Thank
Can you just answer what school district did you?
Absolutely. Well, I can share, we've talked to other school districts, but we also had this position grant funded in the past, similar, through the System of Care grant. We had a position that she worked with multi-tiered systems of support across the district with the counselors and so on. So we have experience in this area. So, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Condon. I'm from Wolfeboro. My question kind of relates to your strategic plan area of academic success improvement. I can't remember the exact terminology. While you clearly have a huge budget for this town, and while I would never suggest reducing that amount of money, my question is has this been considered to reappropriate funds or redistribute funds to areas that might address that area of your strategic plan? Specifically, my concern is in mathematics. I wasn't able to come to the meeting, but I watched one of the meetings that you had where I think it was Dr. Hills presented about the SAT scores in maths, and I was quite shocked to see that only 30% of the students at this school in 11th grade, I believe, meet the national standard. So a cursory look across here, looking at copying, printing, two different things that, to my mind, mean sort of the same thing. In schools where, certainly in middle and high school, students have a Chromebook. Why are we copying, printing? Is there any way we could perhaps look at readdressing those quite substantial budgets and looking at maybe addressing the issue of our maths curriculum improvement? And as a side note there, is there anywhere, there's no line item for teacher training? And I understand from that presentation that teacher training is happening, and specifically in maths to address this problem. Is it under a different line item? Where does that fall? Or is there not really a budget for teacher training?
Who would like that? Okay, Kathy?
Of teacher training under, let me pull this right up, is actually up top. It's under Object Code 240, tuition reimbursement, and that is by collective bargaining agreement. So there's a specific amount set aside for teachers. It's in their CBA, their collective bargaining agreement, a certain amount for administrators. It's in their collective bargaining agreement, as well as the support staff. So across the board, there is professional development for every level staff member. I can answer that.
Printing, copying.
And the printing and copying. The copying has to do with lease that we have for all of our copiers. During our finance committee meetings, the finance committee did opt to cut the copying budget down a little bit, so therefore we will be cutting back on our printing of sheets, right.
Yeah.
Printing is something different. Printing has to do with annual reports, ballots that we have to print by law. So it's printing of certain directories that we outsource. We don't necessarily, we do insource some printing of items, but we also have to outsource our time cards, certain forms that have to be done through a printer. So that's where printing comes from. But there has been conscious decisions to cut on those lines where the Finance Committee had made recommended.
Is there anything in that budget that's specifically earmarked and ring-fenced for math improvement in mathematics?
Oh, there.
curriculum. There we go. I don't have the.
Or I guess more generally what is being done, but obviously we're at a budget meeting, so
Absolutely.
that's where I'm directing the question.
Mr. Chairman? I'm, okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. So regarding the math 320, the 320 line? Professional services. So I won't speak for Dr. Hills, but as far as math, we have math coaches in 2 buildings, and I know that all buildings, sorry, all buildings, and it was reduced after the ESSER funds ran out. But also, I know that Dr. Hills proposed curriculum materials. So we have curriculum materials and also online platforms for math improvement. But more specifically, I encourage you to be in touch with us so we can have more information for you. Also, to check out our curriculum and instruction section of our website, because
This may not be the forum for that, but can I point out, I've been looking at that area for the high school nearly 2 years, because in advance of us entering our son into school, and it is still not on the website for the high school. It says it's coming spring 2024. We are now approaching spring 2025. Appreciate this is not the forum for that, but since you brought it up, I feel remiss not to mention that it is not there and has not been.
we'll take a look at that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Tom, did you have a comment or input? Okay. We'd like to leave the floor open for the audience, unless you have something.
My only comment was to say what the superintendent said, which is we do have the math tutors for the teachers.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hey, anyone else like to take advantage of the opportunity?
Glenn Cordelli, Tufton Borough. I was just wondering if you could tell us how many new positions were added with ESSER funding that are now being put into the budget for local taxpayer funding.
Who would like to venture a response?
The 2 math coaches specifically.
2 math coaches. But that's not for this budget. Yeah.
Yeah, happened in the previous budget.
Right. 2 math coaches.
Did you get a response to math coaches?
Oh, are you asking for next year?
Are you saying currently or the next budget?
So the next budget.
I don't think we're continuing any
No,
ESSER
no.
None of
specific.
these.
No.
Yeah, unless we funded it in the last
Right.
budget, which we had 5. We wanted to only keep 2 when we had it was a budget process, and we got rid of the rest. That was it. And that was part of our commitment to the taxpayers, is we're going to have a bunch of federally grant funded positions and try to pass them back to our taxpayers. Once the funds dried up, we wanted to make sure we weren't on continuing costs. So someone can correct me wrong, but that was my understanding. That was made before I joined the board, probably about 4 years ago.
Could I just follow up on
Charlene.
Representative Cordelli's question? I'm a little confused about that specific question, because it's my understanding that in the superintendent's explanation, she said that we had a student wellness coordinator, perhaps under a different name. We had that position before, and it was grant funded. So since it's not ESSER funded, what grant funded that?
We had the System of Care grant, and Sarah Skoglund filled that position. She, System of Care Coordinator, she had that position. It was a 3-year grant. I believe it ended in 2022, 2023. However, she left our district before the grant ended. We did not fill that position. So it's been 2 years without that position.
State or federal?
State, federal? System of Care? I think System of Care was state. Was it state grant?
Okay, thank you, Charlene. Any other input? Questions? Comments? Praise is always welcome.
Hi, my name is Steve Johnson. I'm from Wolfeboro. A couple of questions, if I could. First and foremost, do the school board members get to look at the budget before tonight? I mean, have you all seen this before? Okay, that's question number one. Question number two is, I would echo this woman's query about the coordinator, that you should put a description so that we could see it, as well as your proposed, I know that's 79,000, but something more concrete. It seems like a moving target. I don't like moving targets.
Caroline, what was the second question? I couldn't hear it.
He's looking for the job description of the Student Wellness Coordinator.
Oh, okay. Well, that's been hashed. I'll say, yes, Mr. John, good to see you, Steve. Well, to hear you. We did see the budget before tonight. We had another hearing in New Durham for the preliminary budget here. That's required, I believe, by state law. And we had 3 nights of hearings in November. I was at Finance Committee. So this board's been able to ruminate kind of over the budget for well over a month. And we tried to, I'm very happy to see the participation tonight. I'll say too, just as a second comment, that people came out and care. So for that, I appreciate all of you. But yeah, we did see the budget well in advance, twice.
Great, thanks, Brody. The other question I had was, you're right that you don't present the general budget together with the warrant articles. As a budget committee member of the town of Wolfeboro, and I'm suggesting this to that budget committee, is that you present them together, always at the same time. So people, the citizens can look at both those numbers and get a realistic number of what they're going to be paying for. Because you have the general budget and then your warrant articles by design, so people can vote on them individually. But if they're just a warrant article individually, you can be really in favor of all of them, but if you vote for all of them, it has a definite impact on the overall budget and on our taxes. So I would strongly recommend that. Last question is, I don't know if you can get this, or if you have it, with the decrease of student population, I'd like to know what the ratio of administration positions to teaching positions is. So I'd like to see if there's a growth in the administration positions and salary outcome or total as to that of the teaching positions, especially in light of decreasing student numbers. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Would somebody like to respond to the questions here?
I can't.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for your suggestions.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else like to take the opportunity to speak to this group? Okay, well, we appreciate your attention. Thank you for being here this evening. And I'll also turn my head towards the board just to see if any words of wisdom have bubbled up in the interim here. Anybody like to make any comment, questions? Charlene. Thank you.
I know in the past, I first was elected to the board in 1999, and I know in the past when we were going through our various building proposals, the board would go around to all the towns in the district and provide presentations about our building needs. And given the fact that the 6.6% increase in the budget over last year, to my recollection, is unprecedented, and I was wondering if there were any plans to visit other towns in the district and basically try to sell the budget.
I could speak to that if you'd like.
Please do.
I anticipate that when I go to every campus, what come up, it's the budget, and I will. I've done a lot of research, spoken to Kathy, the superintendent, multiple times, the business administrator and superintendent, and so yeah, that'll be part of what I'll have to do. Is go to candidates nights and explain these fixed costs. Majority of it being, wage-weighted, health and life insurance, and a few of our professional services providing mandated education costs, and explaining that the default budget, because of these fixed mandated costs, or because of the previous CBA that was approved 2 years ago for the teacher's contract, it's going to be 5.25% if we go down budget versus 6.6% if we approve the budget. But the sacrifices by not approving the budget would mean, there might be buses that we don't get to buy out for the lease agreement. There might be some services that we need for upkeeping the buildings where we won't have enough money for negotiating contract with upkeep of our buildings, because not everything. It would set us back tremendously. I'm not happy with these costs, but I recognize the reality that these are costs that we as a board bear the burden to figure out and to try to present the most fiscally responsible budget for our taxpayers and meeting the needs of our students and staff. So I hope that answers your question, Arlene.
Arlene, are you happy with the response?
I was having a little trouble with the audio cutting out, Brody. I think what you're saying is that everything you just said you're going to be sharing with every town in the district, if I'm not mistaken. Is that the gist of what you said?
I said at candidates nights the budget will come up and I will address it and I will explain why our budget looks the way it is. That's what I said and that's what I mean. And I can't cut it any way and I can't any more effective, Arlene.
Yeah, no, that's fine, Brody. Your audio was a bit choppy there, so some things were dropping out. So thanks for the clarification on that. Anyone else? Mr. Bickford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There was a question asked about the ratio of administration to teachers, and I heard Brody start to answer it, and then I didn't hear what the superintendent said. Could you tell me what that was?
So as far as that question, I said there are no new administrators. So there are no new administrators, and we're not proposing any new administration at this time.
I didn't understand that to be the gist of the question.
Okay.
But I'll leave it up to the
That's just
questioner.
that's just repeating what I said.
Well, I was going to say, if I may, that I appreciated Mr. Johnson's question, and that if he sends me an email, we'll be sure to try to get that information. We have it on hand, and that I also appreciated his feedback regarding the process for presenting.
Unfortunately, the microphone cut out there on our end, Brody. If you want to briefly read it again.
Yeah, what part did it cut out at?
About halfway through.
I said that I not just appreciated his feedback. We're trying to update the budget process and make it better for residents and taxpayers. So I appreciate his feedback, and it's something we can look into next year regarding how we present the budget to taxpayers.
Thank you. Okay, this is going to be my last call. Dana, do you want to weigh in? Okay.
Yeah. As I run around the district, now that's a joke, as I walk slowly, I observe how wonderful the buildings are, and the classrooms, and the colorful bent metal desks and chairs. And these new chairs are just comfy. But over the last 6 years, every year there's thousands and thousands of dollars budgeted for replacement of furniture and new furniture. What I'd like to do is, every time I go by Don't Miss It furniture place, I think about how much money we're spending on furniture. So what I'd like to do is to set up somehow through the building principals and the classroom teachers a necessity for what exactly do we need for new furniture. And because that's been a big item for 6 years. And I know there's one room in the high school, 140 upstairs. It's a special ed room now, it's huge. And they have chairs with broken wheels. They have the 5-wheel rotating chairs that fall apart, don't work, or the wheels are bent, so they don't work. And even when I was there, the metal rod in the middle that holds the two pieces together would drop down onto the carpet and rub on the carpet. So I'd have to repair the chairs every single day, or we'd be catching the metal rod on the loops in the carpet. So there are some places that still need new furniture. I'd like to get a handle on that.
Okay, thank you, Dana. Good observations, and every year that does come up when the school principals present their budgets in November. And you're right, it's an ongoing challenge. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to call this segment to an end. This is a budget adoption hearing, which means that I would entertain a motion from the board to adopt the budget as proposed, if someone would like to make that motion.
I make the motion to adopt the budget as proposed.
Dr. Schuckler has made the motion to adopt the budget as proposed.
Second.
Okay, and it has been seconded by Mary Schilleriff. Okay, amongst the board members, is there any other comment or discussion before we vote? Mary? As she struggles with her mic.
I hope, yeah, good, I never turned it off. I just want to also send some accolades to the budget process. I was on the committee last year, was not this year. So give me 2 years to work through that. And then having been a classroom teacher, no surprise to anybody that I was formerly a classroom teacher. I so appreciate the deliberation, the intent to make it a budget that responds to the needs of the children in this community, their safety, their well-being, their attention, and those kinds of things. I attended all three of the meetings, and I think all the chairs were filled as well. So I encourage folks who have had an opportunity, and in the future, these meetings are open to the public, and it's a great opportunity. But I do want to say that it's hard and well thought out on the part of the committee, and I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Appreciate those words. Anything else from the board? Yeah, I'd also like to thank everybody for their thoughtful input, which includes our members from the community. Your questions and your comments are important to the board. And I will, at this point, call for the vote on the motion. Kathy, could you do so, please? Tom?
Aye?
No.
Yes.
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 Brody's aye. Okay, it appears that the motion carries. The budget as proposed has been adopted by the board. Thank you very much, and thank you again. Kathy, 6-2. Yep. All right. So now we're going to move from our budget hearing portion into our regular agenda. And at this point, I will ask agenda review. Are there any new items or any corrections, et cetera?
No new.
No new items. Okay, so we will proceed with the agenda as configured. And at this point, we will turn it over to the student presentation. I don't know who's leading that up, but I'm sure you'll identify yourself. Oh, it's Dr. Hills.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us on this freezing evening, and I promise that the student presentation tonight will warm your soul. Jim Sittimer's statistics students will be showcasing 3 competencies: analyze and interpret data using graphical and numerical summaries, recognize and analyze patterns of association for categorical variables, and use correlation and linear regression to analyze and interpret the relationship between 2 quantitative variables. So these are some fancy math phrases and terms. So please join me in welcoming Ava Cole and Tyrese Ryder as they help make sense of statistics.
Okay, so it was very well introduced. I think I'm just going to hand it over to the students. So first, we're going to have Tyrese Ryder share his presentation.
This is my Unit 1 spreadsheet presentation. Okay. Can you hear me? All right. This is my Unit 1 spreadsheet presentation. Go to the next slide.
I got it.
All right. So Chapter 3, essential question: how do you tell if the categorical variable are related? You can tell that they're related by creating segmented bar graphs, and if they match, they're related. This is my two-way contingency table on eye colors and for male and females. All right, these are my 6 W's for it. The who, students in the senior class, what eye color, when 2011. Where, Overhills High School, why, to find what eye color was more dominant, and how, observational the study. This is my bar graph showing that females are more dominant with the green and brown colors in their eyes, and yeah. All right, my conclusion is it is a dependent because there are no differences in the percentage of certain eye colors between men and females. All of the bar graphs look different. Both variables are categorical with a gender and eye color. All right. My chapter 2, 4, and 5 essential question: how do you describe a numerical data set? You use shape, center, spread, and sample size. Chapter 5, 6 W's are who, NFL player, what, rushing yards, and ATT, which stands for attempts, when, 2024 season, where, USA, why, to see the best player, and how, the observational study. This is my data showing all the different, the median, the standard deviation, numerical variables, 5 numbers summary.
What team is he?
I think the can't remember the name.
Just curious.
Yeah, Chargers. Yeah.
Not
I
the-
had the symbol in my head, but I can't remember the name.
Not the Patriot one, not the Patriot.
Yeah. All right, and these are my histograms on his rushing yards and his attempts. All right, my dot plots and box plots on it. All right, and then my conclusion for his rushing yards and attempts is the shape for the rushing yards were skewed right, and the attempts were bell-shaped. The medium for rushing yards were 116, and the medium for attempts was 24.5. IQR for rushing yards was 70.5, and the attempts were 45. And the sample size was 50 for both. And that's my site. That's all.
I'm out.
Okay, our next student that will share her presentation is Ava Cole.
Okay, so here was my stats midterm. The essential question was, how do you tell if two categorical variables are related? The answer to that is you make a segmented bar graph, and if the bars look different, the variables are related, and if the bars are the same, then the variables are independent. This was my two-way contingency between blood pressure and age, like the relationship between them. So there is a category of people under 30, people between 30 and 49, and then people who are over 50 who have low, normal, or high blood pressure. The 6 W's for that was who, what, why, when, where, and how. This was an observational study, and it took place in the United States to find the relation between age and blood pressure. Here's my segmented bar graph. It shows the difference between the people who are over 50, between 30 and 49, and then the people who are under 30. My conclusion from that Chapter 3 data was that the variables are dependent because the bars do not look the same. And the chart shows that 49.7% of people over 50 have the high blood pressure, while 15.6% of people under 30 have high blood pressure. So people over 50 tend to have higher blood pressure than younger people. How do you describe a numerical data set is the 4 S's, which is shape, center, spread, and sample size. My Chapter 5 data for the 6 W's was a study between like homicide mortalities by state. It was an observational study, and it was shown to find the relationship between homicide death rates within the 50 states. Here's my Chapter 5 table and some of the summaries that I got for that information. Both my histograms were skewed right. My first one is the death rate per 100,000 total population, and my other one was just the total deaths from the states. Here's my box plots and dot plots. So these show the outliers of the information. So for the first one, this was the death rate per 100,000. So Mississippi had an outlier, District of Columbia had an outlier, and then the other one is just overall deaths, which California was an outlier, and then Texas was an outlier. Here's the 4 S's for that data set, and then the medians and IQRs. The second essential question was, how do you tell if 2 numerical variables are related? And for that, you make a scatter plot. Here's my scatter plot for the homicide mortality rate. The direction, form, and strength were all random, and then the correlation coefficient was extremely low, which shows that it's weak because it is really close to 0. It also showed that the data is super dispersed. This is my residual plot. It is very random, and then in conclusion, it shows that this is not an appropriate linear model. And we learned how to make these to show like the relation and to show if it was appropriate or inappropriate. And then here are my resources. Thank you.
We have one more quick speaker, Oliver Kolodner.
Thank you, Ms. Nealer. I'm here to talk tonight about our math team, which is also part of the math department. I'm part of the math team. I've been part of the math team for the last 4 years that I've been in the school. But this year, we are doing, I would say, exceptionally well. We've competed 3 times. We compete on the second Wednesday of every month. And we've placed first in all but one of our competitions, and in the one that we didn't win, we placed second. So that currently puts us at first overall in our league, which is super exciting. And so every week we bus down to a different high school, or every month we bus down to a different high school. Last month we went to Laconia, and we compete in a few different topics of math. So the first topic is writer's choice, which varies by competition. Usually you expect to see something like statistics or reading different types of graphs, something along those lines, but it's really up to the writer. Then after that you have Algebra 1, self-explanatory, Algebra 2, Geometry, and then Advanced Math. And Advanced Math, kind of like writer's choice, tends to vary a lot. You could be looking at, something like what you just saw up there with statistics, or it could be something more related to calculus. But every week we bring a team of about 12 kids down, and we compete against other teams of usually similar sizes. Every math question you get right, you get 2 points, and so it's pretty simple to score. There's individual phases where 3 to 4 students take each of those tests that I talked about before, but there's also a team phase, so the team is split in half, and you compete to score points. And the team overall who gets the most points is the winner. And it's pretty awesome to be part of this team, and I'm super excited that this year we're in first by a pretty good margin. I believe right now it's like 16 to 20 points, which is pretty good, especially considering that most weeks we've not competed with a full team of 10 kids. And so it's super exciting, and I'm super proud to be on this team. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
I just want to say something to that student before he leaves. I don't fly my nerd card very often, but I was on a math team a very long time ago as like an algebra heavyweight. Good for you, man. Keep it going.
All right. Well, that's wonderful. Thank you very much for a very good presentation. It's nothing like having a budget meeting followed by math. Just seems so appropriate. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I simply must use the bathroom.
Okay.
Feel free to proceed in any manner you see fit.
All right. I will not issue you a pass, but I would if I could. And for the sake of others here, you may know that in the past when I've chaired these meetings, I've often called for a recess in the middle of them when they run long. And tonight, with the budget presentation, that will be the case again. So at some appropriate time, I'll run the flag up the pole for that. But at the moment, let's move to the acceptance of minutes, and we will start with the minutes of December 2nd school board meeting. Would anybody like to volunteer some input, whether they all look good to you, if you'd like to propose acceptance, etc.? You know the drill.
Chair, I'd like to propose acceptance of the school board minutes from December 2nd as written.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Scheckler has put forth the motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dana. Any other discussion or observation before the vote? Okay, hearing none. Kathy, would you take a vote on the motion, please?
Aye.
Yes.
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 Aye.
Okay. And yep, there he is.
Yes.
All right. With great faith, he votes yes. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the next set of minutes will be for the December 12th Buildings and Maintenance meeting. And for those who were in attendance, which would be myself, Mr. Bickford, Mr. Pike, and Dr. Manning, who unfortunately is not with us this evening. Same question as before: comments, questions, corrections, or I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion to accept as written.
Seconded?
Okay, that was motion by Mr. Pike and second by Mr. Bickford. I don't see anybody leaping to make any corrections. Kathy, will you take the vote, please?
Aye.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. All right. And our last is the December 12th non-public school board meeting. It was held in the SAU building conference room. I believe all board members were present. So, same questions as the others. Any corrections? Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve is written.
Mr. Pike has moved to accept the minutes, and Dr. Scheckler has seconded. Any corrections? Hearing none, may we have the vote, please?
Aye.
Yes.
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 Aye.
Okay, very good. Thank you, everyone, for the acceptance of those minutes. I don't believe I have the information on the manifest.
I do. Can I read it out loud
Yes,
for you?
please,
Sure.
please do.
Thank you. So the manifests that are being signed by 3 of the board members tonight, the accounts payable adds up to $3,175,109. Payroll adds up to $3,342,316 for a grand total for all manifests of $6,517,425.
Very good. Thank you, Kathy. Okay. Anybody have any questions on that number or anything related to it? Okay. Accept the motion to accept the manifest? Come on, you know you wanna.
I move to
move.
accept.
Okay, Mr. Deshay has moved to accept the manifest.
Second.
Seconded by Mary Schillereff. Okay, seeing no move to discuss it, can we have the vote on that, please?
Yes.
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 Aye.
Okay, very good. We accept the manifest for the evening. Okay, we come to our most popular segment, public input. I've already had a chance to share wisdom relative to the budget. This is our regular public input for school board meetings. Disclaimer, as always, is that we like to limit it to 3 minutes per person. We've set aside 15 minutes total for public input. By vote of the full board, we can't extend that. So, as in the other segment, please step up to the microphone, identify yourself and the town you are from, and we always appreciate politeness.
Glenn Cordelli, Tufton Borough. I wanted to follow up. There was some previous discussion about the strategic plan, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit. I know that it has been passed, but I think that the public needs to know the woke direction that it is taking the district. The strategic plan can be found on the website under About, then you look down and you'll see the strategic plan. If you look at it on pages 9 and 10, by the end of the 25-26 school year, they want to increase levels of student proficiency for all subpopulations. If you look at page 7 for the definition of subpopulations, it says it is a subset of a larger population, i.e. females, Hispanic, Latino, etc. Why not boys? Why not just say we want to improve proficiency for everybody? Wouldn't that be simpler and more accurate? At least in my way of thinking. Going on to page 12, states by the end of the 24-25 school year, increase opportunities to involve underrepresented community members. Underrepresented community members is not defined. In my way of thinking, that might mean taxpayers without children in the schools. But why not just say we want to increase the involvement for all community members, not just subpopulations? We should be talking to everybody in the community. Parents, community members, everybody. Page 12 again. By late fall of 24, conduct an equity audit. Page 5 definition for equity audit. Assess the level of equity in educational opportunities and outcomes for all students. Equity of outcomes. Why not equality of opportunities? That's always the way it has been, equality of opportunity, not equity of outcomes. This report also goes on to include calling for DEI training for all staff, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and DEI curriculum review. Companies across the board, major companies and universities are doing away with DEI, but we are going down that path, it seems. I want to, in light of the budget that was adopted tonight, I think that the public should also know and understand about proficiency levels and the current proficiency levels. I think this was 23-24 data.
I'm going to ask you to wrap it up, please.
Yep, I just have a couple of sentences. A rate of 54% of students are proficient in English and reading. A rate of 44% of students are proficient in math. A rate of 39% of students are proficient in science, yet the graduation rate is 96%. So who are we graduating? What are the competent students that we are graduating? Is this sufficient for Wolfeboro and the surrounding districts, surrounding towns in this school district? I think not, and I think parents and the taxpayers should begin to ask questions and look at the budget and what is going on and improving education and academics in this district. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your input.
Kayla Hewitt of Wolfeboro. Just another voice to say I am still very glad we have a strategic plan and very much support it. Thank you for all the work you've done on that.
Thank you for your input. Okay, going once, twice. Okay, thank you very much. We'll note that at the end of the meetings tonight, we will have another public input segment in case additional wisdom wells up during this period. Now, for one of our most exciting portions of every meeting, we need to hear from our student representative.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Before I start, I'd like to say I hope you all had a wonderful holiday season and you guys are all enjoying the new year. I am, I'll tell you. But first thing on my report is I'd like to tell you about the Wish Upon a Star program. Student Council collected over 80 gifts for students in not only elementary but the middle and high school around the district. We wrapped them up and sent them off just before break, and it was a great way to start off our holiday vacation. Another way Student Council got involved this month was by putting together a holiday-themed dress-up week just before break. It was a great success as lots of students and staff members participated throughout the week. I also participated. It was a great time. But into the world of sports, the boys and girls basketball teams appeared in the Lakes Region Holiday Tournament hosted by Guilford. The boys lost in the semifinals to Guilford, and the girls also lost in the semifinals to Guilford. In the regular season, the boys have a record of 1-3, and they head up north this Tuesday, or tomorrow, to square off with our biggest rival, Kennett. The girls have a record of 0-4, and they will stay at home this Tuesday to battle Kennett. The girls and boys alpine ski teams had their first race this Friday at Cranmore Mountain Resort in North Conway. The girls finished first in giant slalom and second in the slalom race, while the boys finished second in both giant slalom and slalom. Their next race will be this Friday the 10th at Cranmore. The boys hockey team took home a tournament championship over vacation in the Peter Hall Christmas tournament hosted by Kennett. The boys took down Kennett 3-0 to take home the title. In the regular season, the boys have 4 wins and 1 tie, and they head up to Kennett this Wednesday the 8th. The girls hockey team hosted a tournament at the Popwell Ice Arena over vacation, but sadly, they were not able to hoist the trophy as they were not able to advance out of their pool to the championship game. However, they did earn a spot in the 3rd place game, but they were sadly beaten by Berlin Gorham Kennett. On the regular season, the girls hockey team is 3-0, and they, bear with me here, they go to Manchester to play Manchester Central Memorial Manchester West girls hockey team. This Wednesday the 8th. The boys and girls indoor track team will head to Phillips Exeter for their next meet on Saturday the 11th. My buddy Oliver earlier talked about the math team, and he did a great job, but I'll add that their next meet is a virtual meet on January 15th. The robotics team has officially started their season. Their first competition is in a little bit, but it's February 28th through March 2nd at the University of New Hampshire. The Kingswood Theater program began rehearsals for their festival play, She Kills Monsters, on January 2nd. This play is for a competition, but there will be 2 public performances on the 14th and 16th of March. I would like to take a moment to thank you all on behalf of the student body for allowing a voice from inside the school onto this prestigious board. Happy New Year, everyone, and have a good night. I'd also like to throw in there, Brody, I hope you're starting to feel better, and next month we can see you in person.
Did you hear that, Brody?
I didn't hear that.
He might have taken a break. All right, thank you, Jack, for that great report. There's just so much going on. It's really exciting to hear all of that. Okay, speaking of excitement, I'd like to have our superintendent's report at this time, if we could.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Chair Pittman. Okay, just a couple updates I'd like to highlight from my report this month. Every month I provide an update on progress on the strategic plan. This month I'm focusing on the family and community communication and engagement focus area. As part of progress in this area, we will hold the first parent advisory group tomorrow, January 7th, 2025, 4 p.m. at the SAU. We have a group of parents signed up to attend in person and virtually. It's still open to any parents if you'd like to attend at the SAU or virtually, as I said. Email us for the link if you'd like to participate. We will be reviewing the results of the recent communication survey, assess if further information gathering is needed before we create together a comprehensive communication plan for the district. So we're looking forward to that meeting. Next, the assistant superintendent search. So as we prepare to replace some very big shoes, we're committed to a thoughtful and inclusive process. The position is now posted, and we're putting a committee together. I'm very pleased to share that Mary Schilleriff and Dr. Beth Scheckler agreed to represent the board on the committee. So thank you very much to Mary and Dr. Beth for participating in the process. I just sent out information about some information sessions for staff that will happen this week, and also for families that will happen next week, one session virtually and one in person. If you're interested in serving on the committee, whether you're a staff member or a family member, please reach out to the SAU office. Thank you very much. That concludes my, my district update.
Are we going to move on to the budget transfer request?
Yes, happy to do that.
Okay, thank you.
We have a budget transfer request for the board. Per policy, we bring to you transfer requests that are $5,000 or more. So these are special education transfer requests for tuition, consult services. You can see here there are 3 requests. So the first is for the payment of physical therapy services. The second is for payment of an LPN for interim health care for an elementary school student. And the third is for related services for another elementary student. So any questions? But we would need board action on that.
Charlene.
I don't necessarily have a question about that, but were we going to hear anything about the overnight field trip to Puerto Rico?
There was just a little mention down
Oh,
here.
yes. So this has been, so this, just for the public, this is a note on the superintendent district update. I include the overnight field notifications, and there is a high school world language trip to Puerto Rico in April. This has been on this report at least for a couple months. There is a document that accompanies this in the materials, and I'm happy to share that with the board separately if that would be helpful.
Do we have it in this?
Not in this packet,
Okay.
no.
I have a question. Caroline, this is a different field trip than the one to Spain that we helped fund last spring?
Correct.
Okay,
Different.
thank you.
Yep.
All right, so back to the question of the line increases. Do we have any questions? Any questions on that item? Yes.
I'll make a motion. We approve the 3 budget transfer requests as presented.
Okay, Brody has put a motion forward to approve those. Do we have a second? All right, I'll second it then. Okay, any other questions? Okay, can we call for the vote, please?
Aye. Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay. And the last item on school board spokesperson. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, that's right, we have to talk about the articles.
Yeah,
All right. Would you like to speak to those, seeing as they're under your section?
I'm happy to. Happy to. So next are the warrant articles for the board's consideration, and we would ask for the board to take action on each warrant article separately. You can see the first article does not require a vote. That is to choose the following school district officers. So these terms are up this year. School board member from Effingham, school board member from Ossipee, school board member at large.
And I'd just like to take the opportunity while we're on this subject, just so that our public is informed, being the current school board representative from Effingham, I will be up for re-election, and I would just like to announce I will not be seeking re-election for my board seat here. Also, Dana, you will be up for re-election. Do you want to make any comment on your intention to run or not for re-election?
Right now, I'm looking for maybe somebody that's interested, There could be a open.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So for those who may not have heard Dana adequately, he's looking for a possible person to maybe take over for him, but this has not been decided yet. I did speak with Brody earlier, who is the member at large, and his intention, as he spoke to me at this time, is to run for re-election. So thank you very much for letting me to add that information.
Absolutely. So Article 2 is the article for the budget. And so since the board adopted the final adoption for the budget, I don't believe, actually, I think they would need to vote on the warrant article separately. Yeah. To have the separate
Yes.
tallies.
Yep, just to go ahead and
Okay.
read it out loud. I mean, we know it was 6-2, so if you two know, everyone knows how they voted, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can keep the vote here to be 6-2, but I can read it out loud if you like.
Each article, you mean?
Yeah.
I guess I'll query the board. Do we see a benefit for the board to read these articles out loud at this? Okay, no. Well, to avoid any conflict, we will read them.
Okay, sure. So shall the Governor Wentworth Regional School District raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $67,427,393. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $66,574,504, which is the same as last year with certain adjustments required by previous action of the Governor Wentworth Regional School District or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, 10 and 16 to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. Note, this warrant article operating budget does not include appropriations requested in any of the other warrant articles. The school board recommends this appropriation. Majority vote is required.
Okay. Now, as a point of order, as just stated, we effectively voted on this. So there's no need for a second vote.
Okay. Article 3, to see if the Governor Wentworth Regional School District will vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Governor Wentworth Regional School Board and the Governor Wentworth Administrative Team, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing level. In 2026, $171,398. 2027, $76,146. 2028, $79,192. 2029, $82,360. And further, to raise and appropriate $171,398 for the 2025-2026 fiscal year, such sum representing the additional costs attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those that would be paid at current staffing levels. The school board recommends this appropriation. Majority vote required.
Okay. So for this, do we want an affirming vote of the board?
Yes.
Okay. I don't believe we'll have any discussion unless somebody believes there's a typo or something like that, because these were agreed through collective bargaining, so there'll be no changes affected here in any of those regards. So I would ask Kathy to just, well, we need somebody to actually make a motion, I'm sorry, to accept Article 3 for recommendation.
So moved. Second.
Okay, Mary moved and Dr. Scheckler seconded. Kathy, could you conduct the vote, please?
Aye. Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Article 4.
Yes. So this is standard after collective bargaining warrant articles. Article 4, shall the Governor Wentworth Regional School District, if Article 3 is defeated, authorize the governing body to call one special meeting at its option to address Article 3 cost items only. Majority vote required.
Okay, very good. And again, no discussion on this, so I would accept the motion to accept this.
So moved.
Dr. Scheckler has put forth the motion. Second?
Second.
Okay, Mary has seconded the motion. Can we conduct the vote, please?
Aye. Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, very good. Article 5.
Article 5, to see if the Governor Wentworth Regional School District will vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Governor Wentworth Regional School Board and the Governor Wentworth Support Staff Association, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing levels. Fiscal year 2026, estimated increase $645,053. In 2027, estimated increase $375,660. And further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $645,053 for the 2025-2026 fiscal year, such sum representing the additional costs attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those that would be paid at current staffing levels. The school board recommends this appropriation. Majority vote required.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, again, as in Article 3, this has been negotiated through the collective bargaining agreement, so there is no action other than to adopt this, accept a motion to adopt Article 5. Come on, somebody else wants to make these motions. Okay. Okay, Tom and Guy. And if we could ask for the vote, please.
Aye. Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Jody's aye, okay. Moving on.
And the standard for collective bargaining warrant articles. Article 6, shall the Governor Wentworth Regional School District, if Article 5 is defeated, authorize the governing body to call one special meeting at its option to address Article 5 cost items only. Majority vote required.
Second.
Was that Tom? Okay, Tom and Guy, moved and seconded. At your convenience, we'll vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Aye. Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, very good, thank you. Article 7, please.
Article 7, to see if the Governor Wentworth Regional School District will vote to raise and appropriate up to the sum of $150,000 to be added to the Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund previously established to maintain and repair schools, and furthermore to name the school board as agents to expend. This sum to come from the June 30th, 2025 fund balance available for transfer on July 1st, 2025. No amount to be raised from new taxation. The school board recommends this appropriation. Majority vote required.
Okay, thank you very much. Just a clarification on this, I believe this was already approved by the board previous discussion, so we'll just call for a motion again to recommend this article.
Motion to recommend Article 7.
Second.
Okay, Guy and Dr. Scheckler. And the vote, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Aye. Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to Article 8.
To see if the Governor Wentworth Regional School District will vote to raise and appropriate up to the sum of $60,000 to be added to the Turf Field Capital Reserve Fund previously established, and furthermore to name the school board as agents to expend. This sum to come from the June 30th, 2025 fund balance available for transfer on July 1st, 2025. No amount to be raised from new taxation. School board recommends this appropriation. Majority vote required.
Okay, I will move to accept. Second from anybody?
Second.
Second from Mr. Pike. Charlene, do you have a question?
I would like to, excuse me, make some comments about why I'm going to be voting against this as I did last year. At the recent Building and Maintenance Committee meeting, our athletic director, Vaughn Beckwith, shared with us some information, and I have still great concerns about our seeming interest in replacing our elderly, well, 12 years old turf field with another turf field. I learned from Mr. Beckwith that, first of all, there was some conflicting information. On the one hand, we were told that we have up to 2 years left, and then we were also told that Representative Josh with Shaw Sports Turf says that it needs to be replaced. We also learned that although GMAX testing, which is a kind of testing where a weight is dropped on a surface and then the resiliency of that surface is measured to determine how well it protects from impact injury. That's been available since 1998. However, since the installation of our turf field, approximately 12 years old, there's been no GMAX testing. And our AD mentioned that we have had students who've experienced whiplash, and the impact also poses a risk of concussion. We learned...
If I can interrupt, please. Charlene, we have on the agenda later, have a detailed discussion on this.
I appreciate that.
So if you can just give us a summary, that would be appreciated.
That's what I'm working on.
Okay, thank you.
Now, where was I? Oh, and also the board has unanimously supported, as well as building and maintenance, the testing of the infill, and that's going to be even more important because our athletic director mentioned the possibility of reusing the infill that's currently in place. And so I was happy to learn from Bill Cousteau that there's no runoff reaching our lakes because of the catch basins that have been created, so that there's no worry about runoff from fertilizers from a sod field. And so because of the information I've learned, not only have the National Football League Players Association been lobbying heavily to have turf fields replaced with sod, a number of states have voted to ban or restrict it, such as California, New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Jersey, and there's pending legislation in Ohio. And so I think that I don't know exactly what it would require for us to take the $800,000 or so that's been designated for a replacement turf field to convert that into a replacement sod field. But I'm very concerned that we have, in spite of all of the information that is available in the last 12 years, I'm concerned that we're going to be replacing something that is deleterious to our students with the same kind of product, and that's why I'm going to vote no on this again.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions, input on it? Okay. Hearing none, can we call for the vote, please? I believe we had a motion and second.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
No.
Yes.
Aye.
And what is the result of our votes? 4 to 4.
Tie field.
Okay.
Tie field.
Jim, can I say something?
Sure.
We have, since before I was even in high school, supported that Warren article, and I've yet to see evidence that our turf field is a danger. I have seen people bring forward reports after report showing evidence maybe in other states, not knowing if it's the same manufacturer. We've done research for over a year in the Buildings and Maintenance Committee, and we've even talked with the manufacturer about the fact that the materials are completely different. I just have to say, I find it a little counterintuitive that we would vote against funding a new turf field, at least appropriate small sums of money over the last 15 years, new turf, so we can get one that we are 100% sure is safe. At this point, most of our evidence that it's safe. There's some people that I'm compelling brought forward where they do not safe, but the best thing to do would be to make sure we have the money to replace it so we can all be on the same page with what's the material and is it safe. I had people say they were going to reach out to experts. Those experts were not certified in any way to be considered experts, but they all didn't reply to us. I think the most information is some of the studies that Jim found that showed that that the turf field is safe for use and that replacing it would be safe and definitely safer than what it currently is. So, I guess I'm just a little bit disappointed by the divided vote. And and I currently points and affect them, but I think by voting against funding for the turf fields, what we're doing is we're voting to keep the current turf field. So that's all I'd like to say.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Okay, moving on to Article 9.
Article 9. Shall the Governor Wentworth Regional School District raise and appropriate the sum of $150,000 for repairs and improvements of building grounds at the Kingswood Regional High School, Kingswood Regional Middle School, Lakes Region Technology Center, Kingswood Arts Center, Carpenter School, Crescent Lake School, Effingham Elementary School, New Durham School, Ossipee Central School, Tuftonboro Central School, and the SAU 49 Transportation Facility? Majority vote required.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions, discussion on that? I believe that this has also previously been verified by the board, but we will accept a motion to adopt.
So moved.
So moved by Dr. Sheckler, seconded by Guy Pike. Okay. Vote, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And
There is Article 10.
Right.
To transact any other business that may legally come before said meeting. I don't know that you need to vote on that, no.
no. Okay.
However, there is one more. Would you like me to address the
Yes.
meals expansion?
Yes, please.
Okay. So we have, before the board decides who will be the spokesperson for each article, we also have another proposal for a warrant article. So, and this memo is in your packets. At the December 2nd, 2024 school board meeting, the board unanimously voted in favor of the following motion: to authorize the SAU to draft a warrant article to provide universal meals to the children of the district in time for consideration at the January 6th school board meeting. In response, Kathy Oblenis and I met with school board member Mary Schilleriff on December 17th to review potential options and draft the warrant article. The meeting that resulted in a focused interest in expanding eligibility for free meals. And the draft below outlines 3 options for the board's consideration and action. So included here are 3 options for a motion. Certainly, the board can make any other motion or no motion. However, this is what we discussed. So what we discussed was to expand the eligibility threshold. So this would be, shall the Governor Wentworth Regional School District vote to increase the eligibility for free school meals for students within the district by aligning the income threshold with the following federal poverty level options. So you would make a motion on one of these 3 if you so choose. 1, 185% of the federal poverty rate, thereby eliminating the reduced cost meals category and ensuring all eligible students that receive free meals. So currently, 185% is the threshold for free meals, and lower than that is for reduced cost meals. This number 1 option just removes the reduced cost, so anyone qualifying for reduced meals would then get free meals. The second option would be to expand meals eligibility to 200% of the federal poverty rate, expanding access to more families and providing free meals to students in households slightly above the current reduced cost threshold. Number 3 would be 300% of the federal poverty rate, significantly broadening eligibility and ensuring free school meals for students from households earning up to 3 times the federal poverty rate. The board recommends one of these options, which would cost an estimated, and we have those figures. This funding would support providing free meals to all students within the newly eligible income brackets, ensuring equitable access to nutrition for academic success and well-being.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, this one's a little more complicated because we are not only voting to recommend an article to change, or really, I guess it's fair to say change the thresholds, but we're also being asked to select a level to recommend the 185, 200, or 300% thresholds in terms of increasing coverage for students for free meals. Yes.
Chair, we do have some dollar amounts if you'd like us to.
Oh, we have dollar amounts.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
So I just want to give you some perspective. So the numbers that I have are based off of the website, off of the USDA, and how this National School Lunch Program works. So right now, the reduced, this puts it into context. So if you are, and they have number of people in your household, but when I'm talking these numbers, this is one person in your household. So this is one person, one income. If there's two people, the numbers increase, but that means people living. It can be two parents, or it can be a parent and a child. You know, it can be a parent and 3 children. So it's just the number of people in a household. It doesn't mean they make money, but when I'm saying these numbers, this is all one person in the household. So right now, reduced this fiscal year, if there's one person in the household and their annual income is $27,861, they qualify for reduced. If they are making $19,578, they are eligible for free. By increasing this number 2 option to 200% of the federal poverty rate, that equates to one person in the household, $30,120 annually. And number 3, if you increase it to 300% of the federal poverty level, it equates to $45,180 annually. So just to give you perspective. I don't know, and we've tried working, the food service director and myself, he's tried working with the software company that we use through the food service department to try and grab some more numbers. The thing is when parents submit or guardians submit an application for free and reduced, typically it's those who already know that they qualify for free or reduced. There are very few people who will apply that are ineligible due to their income, because there is a chart that also goes along with the application that gives them the number of people per household and the dollar amount, so they kind of know. So if you're making $100,000 and you only have 3 people in your house, you know you're not going to apply for it. So we're not sure as to what those numbers are going to look like. However, I have number counts for number of meals served and knowing what would shift. So we would have reduced meals move into free meals. That would be a decrease in revenue. However, it would be an increase in the claims amount. It's a moving target, and I can tell you that what numbers that I do have are kind of estimates. So if you have more questions, please go ahead and talk about questions, but that kind of gives you perspective as to the annual income we're talking about for one person.
Okay. And just to clarify, for example, the 200%, $30,120, that would make them eligible for reduced or for free?
Well, that's what you all would decide here. It looks like we're saying if option number 2 is 200%, that would expand access to more families and providing free meals to students in the house.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
I have one question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Do we know actual dollar figure? It sounds to me, Kathy, that it's just not possible because we don't know how many students fall within these income categories. Am I correct?
Correct. What I was able to do is simply move all of the reduced lunches, and this is just lunches because this is the bulk of the numbers here. And I think that's what it only states is lunch, if I'm correct.
Meals.
Does it say meals? Okay. I didn't, breakfast is very small dollar amounts, and I don't need to mean to take away from that. But lunches, I was able to calculate what that would be a shift in. I also looked at the paid lunches for last year, and the total number of paid lunches I simply cut in half, trying to be not too conservative, but try and give the board a good estimate as to saying, well, let's say half of the student population who is paid would end up moving to free. What would that look like? And then, so all in all, I know it's a crude, very quick calculation. I found that by doing this, and when I say this, I really don't know whether it's the 200% or the 300%. I don't know. That is a total given. But at at just taking half of those lunches, those full paid lunches, and moving them into reduced. I didn't move them into paid, I moved them into reduced. It looked like we could be looking at $250,000 that would cost the district.
So that's just the option one?
No, I don't know, and that's the hard part, is I don't know what the income is. I don't know. But I simply took 50% of the paid students in the district and moved them to reduced. So that's a substantial, I think, amount, trying to capture a decent number.
So Kathy, the best you can, we would be asking the taxpayers, if we were to put forward this warrant article, to fund $250,000 toward this effort. That's what
Correct.
you're saying? Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Other questions?
I have a comment, Jim.
Yes.
My one comment about the 185 is you would only be paying for all kids up to 185% of the federal poverty rate in New Hampshire receive free breakfast. So that's already covered. It's just the lunch that the district would be covering. And it's the difference between the federal and state, the federal reimbursement of the lunch for reduced price kids and the full price of the lunch that we set. So that's our most conservative thing. 200% also is what the number is for SNAP or food stamps. So families up to 200% of the federal poverty level are able to access food stamps. If we were to move forward with this, I'm more of the favor, because this is all so open-ended, of doing one of the lower two, and then if we have money left over, it goes back to the taxpayers, and then we get a better assessment of how much money needs to be raised if we did a future warrant article, rather than go for the 300%, come up short, and then what do we do, right?
Okay, thank you for that comment. Mary?
Reiterating what I've said many times, and confirmation from other board members, you can speak for yourself. We know there's a need. We had a student representative who shared her own gathering of data all on her own with 165, if I recall, respondents. The complication that comes from this, particularly at the high school level, kids borrowing money from each other, students concerned about their families meeting needs. We know there's a need. We know that there's a value to this cost. We know that the value that comes from this, based upon data from prior to COVID, during COVID, and after, more students took advantage of the meals that I'm going to repeat it again. I think it's 3 times as many. So yes, this is seemingly a shot in the dark, but we know there's a need. And I would be so concerned that we don't respond with faith, that based upon the input from families, students, what we know from the state of New Hampshire, and a very close vote to the 185. And I think coming down the pike in the future, I hope that this is something the state and nation looks at. We subsidize everything except for food. And there's some, I'm not going to go sociologically into how we got here, but we're means testing children over food, not buses, not any of the other things. So I hope we just collectively have a conversation and look at the work that's been done. I appreciate that from the SAU. I brought my little pile that's actually winnowed down. This isn't a new idea. I think we need to be bold and have faith in the response we've gotten from the community and this board recently to even look at this. So, Brody, I hear what you say about the lower amount. I lean in that direction myself. I think we need to be brave. We need to be responsible to the students that come in and have a meal. We all just finished, I'm going to start preaching here in a minute. We all just finished Thanksgiving together. We value this coming together over meals. There's so much to be gained from it other than the guarantee of a nutritious and attractive meal at the school. So I'm going to stop talking there, but I would lean towards the 200% myself.
Okay, thank you for that input. Any other, Beth?
Yeah. I just want to echo Mary's comment that there's a clear need for this in our district, and that if we are going to demand excellence from our students, they need to be fed. They can't perform on tests if they are sitting in a classroom with a stomach growling and distracting them from the task in front of them. And so I think that being brave is an important step. Today, I would lean at least 200, if not the 300% level. It's not that high of an income level if you really think about it. $45,000 for a single contributor in a household, that could be a single mom supporting 4 kids. Like, it's not that high a number. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, thank you. Charlene?
I just want to say I 100% concur with Dr. Beth's statement as well as Mary's statement. I too would lean towards the 300% of the federal poverty level. I know that it's counterintuitive to think that students can perform if they're not appropriately fed. And to me, this I don't even understand why there should be any debate about this. And I think at the very least, we should definitely make sure that all of our students can be fed and that there is no stigma attached.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Mary, I want to get this to a vote, so if we can keep it brief. Oh, Tom, okay.
I agree that it would be best to feed the kids so that they can perform well. I lean towards the first number, 185%, or 150%. I took my glasses off at the wrong time.
Okay, thank you.
185%.
Okay, thank you. Mary, one more time.
Just to piggyback also, there's so many variables, and maybe 100 years from now, we'll have this all figured out. There'll be calculations and all kinds of graphs and things, and wondering why we took so long to get here. Personal opinion. We know for a fact that people leave our districts because they can't afford to live here. So as I have said in the past, all families can afford to feed their children. That's what they want to do. What they can't do is fold in all the other variables. And I think this is where the children come, pre-K 12. This is where they're here for these, and we meet their needs through a very deliberative and intentional addressing of the whole child. So I say we can, in responding here, we may be hopefully very much surprised. The ripple effect, the attraction to the district.
Okay. I'm going to call for a vote, and I think the way to approach this is potentially progressive motions, starting with the 300%. If somebody would make a motion for that, should that motion fail, then I would suggest we move on to a second motion at 200%. And if that should fail, then we would have a third motion at 185%. So would somebody like to make a motion?
Jim, I'm going to make a motion for 200%. I think we should start at the middle first, and then judging by that vote, then someone can make a subsequent for higher or lower.
Well,
so I'm going to make that motion for 200%.
No, Brody, I'm going to disagree with you because I don't think it gives us proper vetting of consideration. So, I mean, you can make the motion if somebody...
I made the
okay,
motion.
is there anybody who wants to second that motion? Okay, nobody wants to second that motion, Brody, so I'm going to suggest that we do the 300% if somebody would.
I'd make
a motion to take a vote on the 300% option.
Second.
Okay, that's by Guy and, is that you, Dr. Beth? That seconded. Okay. So, without more discussion, let's have the vote if we may.
No. Yes.
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 Aye.
Okay, I guess it will only take one motion then. Motion carries I think thank you very much. And even though we're voting on a percentage, we're certainly voting on the article to accept the article. So just to clarify that, thank you all.
Excellent, thank you. So now the board will want to determine.
Can I make a point of order, Caroline or Jim?
Sure.
I think to do justice to Tom, I think it would make sense to vote on the warrant article as it's now written at the 300%, because Tom may have a different opinion.
Okay, well, that's fine. Won't cost us anything. Correct, yes.
I agree, though I think you should call a second vote so Tom can vote for the article.
Okay, that's fine. Someone would like to make the motion? Tom, would you like to make the motion? Motion made by Tom, seconded by Guy Pike. Okay, and that is to accept the article in toto based on the previous motion. If we could have the vote, please.
Yes.
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 Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks for that clarification. No worries. I understand the intent. Thank you. Okay.
So next is to assign school board spokespersons to each article. So as you know, during the deliberative session, board members, we prepare a presentation for the board, and board members, not all, but some volunteer to present warrant articles. And historically, if I get to that place in the packet, the chair opens it up along with the moderator, and typically the chair presents the budget article. That would be Article 2. Would you like me to facilitate this part of the meeting?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Keep going?
You're doing such a great
job. Oh,
job.
thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
So typically, and I don't think these require votes, just a volunteer, and we'll hold you to it. Brody, would you like to present Article 2, the budget?
Yes, of course, yeah, and I also think Article 3, we should have Jim Manning do that.
Okay, so Article 3 is the administrative team, and he was facilitating that. So Jim Manning, Dr. Jim, will present Article 3. And Article 4 goes with it. I would say he would do both of those. Article 5 would be the support staff. I would say that would be someone on the HR committee. So that would be Brody or Mary or Dana.
I can do it, but I think it's fair to share the wealth.
Okay.
Dana would like to do that one. Thank you.
Okay.
So we'll have Dana do 5 and 6. 6 goes with it. And then 7 is the Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund. I recommend someone from Building and Maintenance, perhaps the lead.
I'd be
Or
happy.
Guy Pike? Absolutely.
Great.
So we've got Guy Pike on Article 7. And then the turf failed because that was a tie and the tie fails. So we will not be presenting that article. But the next one is for repairs and improvements in building and grounds. That's Article 9.
And I'll do that as my swan song.
Jim Pittman. Thank you. And shall I take a gander at who will present the meals warrant article? I'll take a gander. Wild guess. Who has earned Mary Schilleriff? Excellent. And I think that's that. We will prepare a presentation and script for your review. Thank you. That concludes superintendent report.
All right, great work, everybody.
And just to let you all know, I'll have to do the state report, the MS 26, I believe it is, now that you've all adopted all of the warrant articles and the dollar amount. So I'll be sending an email out through just a regular email with the document and then an Adobe sign for you to sign. Or if you want to come in, you can come in, but I will be reaching out to you. So I need majority signatures on those, just to let you know. Thank you.
Okay, and the next item on our agenda is the chairperson's report. Seeing as our chairperson is at home trying to figure out who's going to be the next coach for the Patriots, I happen to have...
I do have a report written here, Jim.
You do? Okay, well, if you would like to present it, go for it.
My only thing is, as you can see, correspondence, and we sent a thank you letter to the Governor Wentworth Arts Council for the cash and art supplies donation, those two separate donations that we accepted back at our December meeting. So other than that thank you letter that was sent out to them, I have no other information. So thank you, Mr. Chairman from the chairman.
Thank you. All right. We're going to go into committee reports, but as I promised earlier, I was going to build in a 5-minute break here because we still have a lot of work ahead of us here for this evening, so give people an opportunity to do what they need to do. 5 minutes.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll reconvene here after our short break, and so Charlene, would you like to regale us with the Academic Affairs Committee?
Hello, hello, okay. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We have before us, everything is up for second read, which will require votes. And my first question would be, do we want to take these by section? That would be my recommendation, and vote on them by section. Well, that's just how I'm going to do it. Never mind. Okay, so in the first, under number 1, recommended for adoption, second read, we have 4 policies. Did any board member find anything that they would like to adjust in any of these 4 policies up for adoption?
I'm hearing crickets.
Okay, I'm hearing crickets. Mr. Chair, do you want to lead the voting?
Well, let's see. Do you want to just quickly, for the record, read the 4 policy numbers?
I'd be happy to do that. We're looking at EBCH. Oh, actually, I did have a question. One of the questions I had, and I think I emailed Heather earlier today, and I didn't get a chance to see if there's a response. This is EBCH is Chemical Safety and Chemical Safety Plan. So my question is, if we allow volunteers to use the toxic chemicals that we might use for cleaning or insect repellent, if there's any volunteer misuse or exposure to these chemicals, are we covered by Primex?
I would need to get verification, but I'm certain that we have coverage, and we would just, that our responsibility would be, if we are having a volunteer handle anything, that we must train them.
Right, okay. So we're going to hope that we're covered for that. Okay, so EBCH, Chemical Safety and Chemical Safety Plan, JJIC, eligibility for interscholastic athletics, JLP, parent notification of and involvement in student welfare, and KFD, use and location of automatic external defibrillators, also known as AEDs. Did anyone have any question or comment? I heard none.
And I heard none either, so I think somebody could make a motion to accept them as a group for adoption.
I'll make a motion to accept Group 1 for adoption.
Second.
Okay, moved by Guy and seconded by Dr. Scheckler. One more call for last-minute comments. Oh, I didn't hear any. All right. Shall we call for the vote?
Aye.
Yes.
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 Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, excellent. On to the next.
And in our next group, we have recommended for reaffirmation 7 policies. For the record, IHBH, Extended Learning Opportunities, IHBI, Alternative Learning Plans, IHCD, Advanced College Placement, IJAA, Reconsideration of Books and/or Other Materials, IJL, Selection of Library Materials, IJOA, Field Trips, and IKB, Homework. Did any of my colleagues on the board have any suggested revisions on any of these?
Again, I hear none.
Hearing none,
We should have somebody make a motion to adopt them.
I move that we adopt all those under number 2, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Second.
Mary has made the motion and seconded by Dr. Scheckler. All right. Nobody jumped up out of their seats, so let's call for the vote, if we may.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
All right, on to 3.
On our next, in our next batch, we have 19 policies that were recommended for revision. And do you want me to read all of those for the record?
Well, my concern is that for people who are going to be watching this online, the record of it, I know it's a lot to read.
I'm happy to read it. I'm a pretty quick reader.
Please do. Yes, you are.
Okay. Recommended for revision, second read, we start with AC, Non-Discrimination, Equal Opportunity Employment, and Anti-Discrimination Plan. ACAA, Harassment and Sexual Harassment of Students. ACAB, Harassment and Sexual Harassment of School Employees. D as in Delta, AF, Administration of Federal Grant Funds. EH, Public Access to District Records. IKF as in Foxtrot, High School Graduation Policy. JIE, Pregnant Students. JJIB, Interscholastic Athletics. JLCJA, Emergency Plan for Sports-Related Injuries and Additional Protocols for Athletics Participation. JLF, as in Foxtrot, Reporting Child Abuse or Neglect. BBBF, School Board Member. Oh, so I'm sorry, Student Board Member. Student Board Member. I knew that was wrong the minute it came out of my mouth. IHCA, Summer Activities. IHD, Adult Education. IIB, Class Size. IJ, Selection of Instructional Materials. IJO, School, Community, and Home Relations. IJOC, Volunteers. IK, Earning of Credit. And IKAA, Interdisciplinary Credit. Did anyone have any suggested revisions they'd like to bring forward at this time? Hearing none, would anyone like to make a motion to approve those as a block?
A motion to approve block number 3 as read.
Second.
Okay, moved by Guy, seconded by Dr. Scheckler, the dynamic duo. Okay, we will call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Here we go.
Okay, and last but not least, recommended withdrawal. And I'll repeat what I say at every board meeting, I believe, that this has to do with either the policies were redundant, they've been incorporated into other policies, and I believe we have included the rationale for withdrawal now on each policy. And I think we did that. Is this the first time we've done that? Yep. So yay, we're doing that. Okay, the policies, the 7 policies recommended for withdrawal are ACAC, Title IX non-discrimination policy and notice of non-discrimination, GBGBA, use of automated external defibrillators, IE, school organization plan, IHAN, driver education, IMG, service animals, JLCEA, use of automated external defibrillators, and KED, facilities or services grievance procedure. Anyone have any suggested revisions for those 7 policies?
I just have a comment.
Yes.
Sorry if I sound weary. I really appreciate the committee and the and Heather for adding in the notes what policies replacing it. Not that I ever have any doubt, but it's always just nice to have that confirmation, especially before a vote if someone has a question. So thank you for that procedural update.
Kathy Lagasse gets the credit for that. She did a lot of work on getting that in there. Thank you.
And thank you, Kathy Lagasse, most and utmost.
Okay, very good. Are we looking for any kind of motion?
Motion to accept the policies under section 4.
Second.
Okay. And to be clear, accept their withdrawal.
Yes, he's on the slide.
Yes.
Okay, let's have a vote.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Brody.
Still there, Brody?
I'm muted. Aye. Sorry, I was coughing.
Okay.
Forgot to unmute.
Thank you for sparing us.
Thank you all, and that concludes my report.
Great, thank you. Good work on this, and I know that before these come before the board, there is a lot of activity leading up to this time, so.
If I may, just point of privilege, I also want to very much offer my great appreciation to Kathy Lagasse and Heather Cummings, because this is one of their big deal things they do, and it makes things very streamlined for the rest of us, and I greatly appreciate all the efforts.
Yay.
Here, here. Ditto.
You won't have Heather to push around anymore. Just kidding, just kidding. Okay. All right, thank you very much. And looks like we're moving on to building and maintenance report, and I see my name, so I guess I better talk about this. Excuse me while I pull out my notes. As if you had read the minutes from the previous building and maintenance meeting, there were several important topics discussed, and I'll just briefly say that we had a representative who addressed the question of lead in our water, and who provided the committee with a voluminous report of water quality in all of our district buildings. And we were pleased to see that all of us are below the levels that are required for lead. Now, there is a caveat to that there are a few isolated areas that are related to fixtures, but they are not related to overall water quality, and they are basically either disabled or in the process of being replaced in some manner. So the good news is our water supplies to our schools were, and again, the information was exhaustive, included test results for many, I want to say, and correct me if I'm not remembering this correctly, something like 600 points of testing. So this was not just a let's wander into the school and pick a water fountain. This was very comprehensive. So good to see those sort of results. And so that was a very good thing to know quantitatively. Second, in terms of the big news, is the ongoing question about the turf fields. And we had a good presentation from our athletic director, who presented us with quite a bit of material, and as was mentioned earlier in today's meeting, also had addressed the question of whether the field was posing a physical risk for impact injuries and things of that nature. And apparently that is a vector that is pushing us to consider the replacement of the turf field sooner than later. As we know, we've kind of went beyond the projected 10 years. We got to, I think, 12 years at this point. Does that sound right? Okay, all right, so it was installed in 11, so yeah, so we're way beyond that. And we have had a lot of discussion and a lot of effort over the various months to see if we could identify if there were chemical hazards in terms of turf fields in general and our turf fields specifically, and whether those were something that would be a deciding factor in how we would proceed towards the replacement. I need to look at my minutes here. I apologize, I don't have this in front of me. Thought it was right here.
Jim, are you looking for a motion?
Well, I'm first making sure I have my minutes in front of me, because as I recall, the committee had a recommendation. Here we go. All right.
Yes.
All right.
Sorry, I'm interrupting. Just ignore me.
Oh, that's okay. Oh, you have it here.
You have the minutes.
Yes. But I think we have a record of how. I want to see if we have the.
I found in the meeting packet, it says that the Buildings and Maintenance Committee unanimously supports moving forward with gathering quotes for replacement of the turf field.
Yes, there we go. Yep, thank you. Okay. So that was the, let me actually read this for the benefit of the full board. I'm sorry, where were you pointing? Okay, here we go. Following the presentation, which we received from Athletic Director Vaughn Beckwith, the committee unanimously voted to recommend that the board hold a public hearing to discuss and potentially approve the expenditure from the turf field capital reserve for this project. This hearing was proposed for the board's next regularly scheduled meeting on February 3rd, and would include representatives from athletics, facilities, and the vendor will be present at the hearing to provide additional information and answer any questions from the board and community. Now, the committee requested that the full board take formal action to schedule this hearing. So I think this is the motion that we crafted, or was crafted, that would like to be put forward. The motion would move to hold a public hearing at the February 3rd, 2025 school board meeting to consider the expenditure of funds from the turf field capital reserve for the replacement of the turf at the Kingswood Complex, with presentations from district staff and Shaw Sports Turf representatives. So that's the motion that we would like to have the board consider currently, and then we would proceed from that point. First, I'd just like to see if somebody would like to make that motion.
A point of order, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Okay, what is your point of order?
You go ahead.
At the same Building and Maintenance Committee meeting, there was unanimous support for following up on the information that Dr. Scheckler got for us about testing our existing turf field for forever chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
And so it seems to me we have, it seems to me it would be premature to have a hearing to move forward with the turf, a replacement turf field, and before that testing has been done.
Okay, may I ask admin if there has been progress in that regard?
I've reached out to the contact on 2 occasions and have not heard back. Dr. Mauser, who is Dr. Scheckler's contact.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it was, over when professors are not usually active on their UNH email, perhaps between mid-December and early January. However, I do recall that the committee considered continuing with testing regarding the infield material to determine if it should be replaced or not replaced. I believe Von Beckwith reviewed that as well. But that was something that was discussed.
Yeah, Carolina, I think you're probably right about the the holiday period at UNH, and I saw your note to her this morning. I would just give it probably till the end of the year, at least.
Well, let me first say, my recommendation is that having a hearing should still be scheduled with the hope that we would gather that information prior to it. And a hearing can always be continued if we have inadequate information to make any decisions. Charlene.
So speaking of inadequate information, at the Building and Maintenance Committee meeting, I specifically asked Athletic Director Beckwith to find figures on the cost of disposal of the existing turf field and presumably the infill as well, if it's found after testing to have elevated levels of toxins that we don't want our students to continue to be exposed to. But, and I mentioned that I had read that the only place that accepts it is in Pennsylvania, and that I had seen figures all over the place. And I had asked that specific question, and I see in the handout responses from questions, and I think, if I'm correct, it was created by Josh Rocconi, the territory manager of New England for Shaw Sports Turf, and he states, well, the question, what would be the cost of disposing of the turf? And there's no answer. He said,
I have a point of order.
he says, I'll have the cost of disposing of the turf broken out in the proposal if
I have
you'd
a
like.
point of order.
Well, let's let Charlene read this segment.
Okay.
His answer was, I'll have the cost of disposing of the turf broken out in the proposal if you'd like. Well, yes. I was
Exclamation.
informed, yeah, if you'd like, exclamation point. I was informed by RAD, I don't know what RAD is, that their cost to recycle it versus traditional disposal is negligible, usually within a few $1,000s of each other on a several $100,000 job. That said, I'll get that number broken out for your reference in the proposal. And I just want to make sure that we can't, I mean, the idea of recycling it, reusing it ourselves is off the table until it's been tested. So I guess his non-answer is a little confusing to me, but,
Okay,
Yeah.
Brody, what is
I
your
have a-
point of order?
Yes, my point of order is, one, is there a motion on the floor? And two, if there was a motion on the floor, wouldn't the substance of it be that we should be discussing whether or not to have a hearing and to expend from this fund? Like, I hear what you're saying, Charlene, and
technically, there's no motion on the floor, Brody, so I can
Charlene,
answer
please
that for you.
I have a point of order. I have the floor. Please give me a second. You're 100% legitimate, and I kind of agree with that concern. I'd like to know how much disposal cost is and understand more about all that and how it's recycled. But there's no motion on the floor, so I'm confused. What are we debating right now? Are we debating the substance of something that we may or may not debate in February? What's going on?
Okay, hang on,
can't see-
Charlene. We don't want to get into a back and
No,
forth here.
I was asking a question because I asked it at the Building and Maintenance Committee meeting, and I had an understanding that our AD was going to get the answer for us. And in this very detailed thing provided by Josh, who's a representative for turf fields, that question wasn't answered. It was acknowledged, but it wasn't answered. And so I'm just wondering when we're going to have the answer to that.
Mr. Chair, if I may, we need to have a motion on the floor to have discussion. So I'm going to make a motion now if that's in order.
Well, there is a proposed motion, and you may have heard me read it before, so if you want to just, I can read it again.
I would like to make the proposed motion, and I would request a second, and then I'd like us to discuss the substance of the motion.
Yes, which is to have a meeting, not to discuss, again, the full scope of all of these outstanding questions.
I second the motion.
Okay. And Charlene, I don't mean to, I think these are great things that I'd love more information on for us to have at a public hearing. That's all. I mean, and you've brought these things up before. In some points I agree with, and some I don't. But I think the request from the Buildings and Maintenance Committee is for us to have a hearing and to finally finalize this matter and to make a decision, because we've been studying this to death. And I remember when I was a state legislator in Concord, there were some legislators who they would say if they could just keep studying something, it would eventually go away. But we're not Concord. We have to actually make a decision. We're not like those politicians down there. So I feel like we should make a decision February 3rd. And, I have a personal opinion on what that decision should be, but I'll hold my opinion until we get to that day. And I think I have some justifiable reasons why I'll vote the way I will. But I'd like to hear from the community and see all the information, and maybe my opinion will be changed too. So, I think we should approve the motion and get a presentation, finalize getting all this information from different stakeholders in accordance with some of the board's previous requests. And, let's figure out how we're going to we need to replace it no matter what. So, and if we don't replace it, as a turf field, then we need to go back to the voters and get their permission, because they've permitted us. The voters have requested over almost 15 years now, I think it's 13 or 14, that they'd like a turf field. That's what we saved this money for. So if all of a sudden we're going to do something different, then we should at least have a public hearing. And if for some reason we decide no turf field, that kind of changes, there's a will of a lot of voters, hundreds that have voted one way, that we would basically be saying, we saved your money for this. Now we need to spend your money on this instead. We have to get their permission again. So it's a lot more complicated. And I think at minimum, we should, make some decision on February 3rd about how we're going to proceed.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Mary. I think Mary was.
Yes, the motion before us is whether we would hold that public hearing on February 3rd. That is the scope of the motion. It is not to make the decisions on any of this. It is to actually have a public hearing. So let's rein in, all of these expansive speculations and just vote on that. That's it. And it was seconded by Mary. It was moved by Brody. So again, the motion is move to hold a public hearing February 3rd, board meeting to consider expenditure of funds from the turf field capital reserve for the replacement of the turf at the Kingswood Complex with presentations from district staff and Shaw Sports turf representatives. And so this is the motion that we are voting on. And if we have questions and comments on the motion, and I don't believe we want to expand it beyond that.
I have a
Yes.
comment about the motion. So our next board meeting on the 3rd is in Tuftonboro, correct? Right? And the meeting following that, March the 10th, is in Crescent Lake.
Correct.
I just wonder, given that this is a matter that may be particularly of interest to the Wolfeboro community, that having that hearing on March the 10th might be advantageous, more convenient for some. Not that I don't think the Tuftonboro folks have thoughts on this, but the field is in Wolfeboro. So that's just my 2 cents on that matter.
Yeah. We appreciate that observation, but we are a school district. So, yeah, favoring a certain town or disfavoring them goes against the spirit of our school district.
Which town is centrally located?
I don't know. Well,
It's my understanding that Wolfeboro is more centrally located in the district. I could be wrong. It's a very large geographic district, the largest in the state. But it's my understanding that that was one of the driving forces for our high school and middle school to be located in Wolfeboro. And I would just think it would be a more central location.
They call the vote?
I believe at this point we should call the vote. So, Kathy, I would ask you to call the vote for us, please. That's fine.
Yes.
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 No. No.
Yes.
Aye.
Okay. And what,
3 no's and 5 yeses.
5-3? Okay, so the motion carries. We will include a public hearing at the February 3rd school board meeting to include this matter. Thank you all for your thoughtfulness. So this concludes business under building and maintenance. Brody, we have finance and with Jim Manning absent, also human resources. Do you want to briefly say anything about either of those committees?
Finance has completed its process other than deliberative. I hope that the taxpayers can understand the pressures that the district is up against with some of these fixed costs, whether it's some of our special education costs, the 5th year of the teachers union contract, and the rising insurance costs that now we're really starting to deal with, like other municipalities and school districts. And I think we need to support our district, and I think we need to really show the taxpayers the enterprise that they're funding. And I think some of the comments tonight, from some folks were good, that they were seeking answers and that they were solutions-based questions, trying to learn more about how their money's being spent. And hopefully we can continue to guide the residents and taxpayers in understanding, the good product we provide. Human resources, we're all done. I just would like to report, and something that I'm pretty happy about is that we avoided having to go to mediation with any of our negotiations, which was nice. It was nice to have a collaborative process and to work through it. It did take a while. We had a fair amount of meetings, and we met over a 4-month period, but it was nice to work together. So it was a pleasurable and a very informative process, having to do that and be on the negotiating team for once. So that's all from me.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move on to our closing activities, advanced planning, and we don't have a public here unless our legal counsel wants to have a public role. I'm seeing her wave vigorously for all the folks at home. But very quickly, on the 9th, there will be a Academic Affairs Committee meeting at the SAU building. Charlene, do you know what time that is?
4 to 6.
4 to 6, for anyone who's interested. Unless they end early. Okay, so beginning at 4, going till whenever the party ends. On the 20th, there will be no school because it's Martin Luther King Jr. Civil Rights Day. The filing dates for school district officers begins on the 22nd and will run through the 31st. So throw your hats in the ring if you're interested. Big date, the 1st of February will be the deliberative session here at the Kingwoods Art Center. Begins at 10 a.m. We always, every year, urge citizens to come and attend, participate, be here. It's perhaps one of the most important days of the year. On the 3rd of February will be our next school board meeting in Tufton Borough. Okay, you can look at the calendar for other events and so on. As there is no public present, we will skip over our second public input session, and I would ask for a motion to go into non-public.
So moved.
Charlene has moved to go into non-public, and Guy has seconded. Can we have the vote, please?
Yes.
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 Aye.
Okay, it sounds like we are now in non-public. Thank you, everyone. Non-public, according to RSA 91A:3, Roman numeral 2. So will we convene in the other room at this point, folks?